Today's deck list had both Sowing Mycospawn and Troll of Khazad Doom in it, so we had to do a rebuild on this one. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Greg has brought us a very interesting idea, and we're gonna see if this idea is good enough for Legacy. This deck is built around Contest of Claws, which I'm just going to read verbatim. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to another target creature. If excess damage was dealt this way, discover X, where X is that excess damage. And as a reminder, when you discover, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card with that mana value or less, and cast it without paying its mana cost, or put it into your hand. So, what we want to do here is take a death-touching creature with exactly 2 power, use 1 of that power to kill a creature. The second damage is dealt as excess damage to the player. Or excuse me, sorry, the other damage is dealt as excess damage, meaning we are going to discover for 1. That, in this deck, always means Crashing Footfalls. So we can, on turn 2, do something like play an Unstoppable Slasher, attack, have our opponent's life total, play Contest of Claws, kill a creature that they played, potentially. We could maybe do that pre-combat even if necessary, and then produce 2 4/4 Rhinos. We are going to play other death-touching creatures that may end up being bigger than that, and that means that sometimes when we do the Contest of Claws things, we won't be going directly into Rhinos, and we might hit some other card instead. That is not the end of the world. This is the dream, though. We are going to have Malevolent Rumble as selection and ways to potentially grow our Goyfs. This was something that was originally in the deck when it had a Reanimator sub-theme. It originally had Trolls and Animate Deads, not Reanimate, because it had cost 1 and could potentially get in the way of Crashing Footfalls. I tried building this deck with the green creature cycler, Generous Ent, but ultimately I was feeling like it was significantly weaker in goldfishing the deck, and I cut the Animate Dead stuff. This may mean that Malevolent Rumble is not necessarily the best anymore. Maybe this should be Once Upon a Time, maybe it should not be in the deck. But this is something that also bridges me to 3 mana. We don't get to play Lotus Petal in this deck to accelerate these 16 3-drops out. We have to play a Spirit Guide so that it does not get in the way of our discovering with Contest of Claws. So I've goldfished this deck a handful of times. It is doing stuff. We'll see how it plays out in practice. Greg's original version with Sowing Mycospawns as an unfair thing to do and Troll of Khazad Doom as an unfair thing to do didn't have to rely on this stuff all of the time, and thus did not have removal. I think I want to be able to get Unstoppable Slasher and Friends into the red zone as much as possible. So I've added 6 main deck removal spells in here. It is possible that I could do more beyond just that. I could throw in an MDFC land, for example, but this feels like an okay starting point, and I don't think there's anything super exciting in the sideboard here. We're going to see how this plays out. This is a very strange Deathtouch Rhinos. This is a draft that we should expect to improve upon, but hopefully we do the thing a handful of times, because this does, in theory, do something powerful. We'll see if we can actually get Contest of Claws to resolve in practice. Folks, I just came from my pre-release. If you need any cards from that set because you didn't pull them in your pre-release, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. At any given time, they tend to have about 95% of standard legal stuff in stock, and if you need old cards for legacy, vintage, old school, whatever, they have those too. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order, and you always get free shipping. With that being said, let's battle. Bill from the future here. This league rules. Every round slaps. This is a banger. Consider finding the time to watch all the rounds, even if it takes multiple viewings. We are not great against the combo deck we get paired against in round 1, but the opponent's deck is at least pretty unique. Enjoy the show. Okay, we have an okay opening hand. I probably don't want double Contest of Claws, and this is playing a Goyf on turn 3, where it will be pretty big. Having 0 games versus an actual opponent, I don't know if this is a keep. My gut feeling says the Ancient Tomb hands are just heads and tails better than the non-Ancient Tomb hands. Oh, fuck. Oh, double fuck. Okay, so my opponent is doing something very unfair, and this start is simply not going to be fast enough. Lion's Eye Diamond probably indicates Echo of Eons, so we should be expecting an unfair blue combo deck of some kind, potentially with Ancient Tombs in it. That just goes to the graveyard. Okay, that's good. That's very good. That lets me do something this turn. Goyf is scaling advantage, but I think I just take the thing that can have my opponent's life total. This is one of the more unfair things that I am capable of doing. And this is exactly a 2-power Deathtoucher for Contest of Claws if my opponent does play a creature. Here's Urza's Saga. We could see a Karn. We could see a One Ring. There's Simian Spirit Guide in here. All right, there's Echo. All right, buckle up. My opponent's going to cast a lot of cards. Well, this hand's probably better than my last hand. I have more mana here. Defense Grid, sure. Battle. And pass the turn. That's super fucking lucky. In any capacity, does it make sense to suspend Crashing Footfalls? Maybe. My opponent has like fair Urza Saga tokens coming. So let's go 1. Oh, I don't have a Spirit Guide. I could have sworn I had a Spirit Guide. I am a liar. Ignore everything I just said about suspending Crashing Footfalls. I have a threat in play. I don't actually feel great about it, but like, hopefully my opponent makes their thing at sorcery speed for some reason, rather than instant speed. Narset plus Echo. Real bad for people named Phil. Winds of Change? Is that another draw? Yeah, each player shuffles from their hand into that library, draws that many cards. So I get 1 card because of Narset. All right. This is creature or planeswalker. Probably choosing creature here. We're going to send that at my opponent's face. My opponent will make their token. I'm going to make you sacrifice a creature token. And I'm going to hope that this decision pays off. This gives my opponent another look with Narset, but I think my best chance of winning is going aggro here, because my opponent very easily could just do another draw 7 and refill their hand. There is an LED, there is a new Saga. Narset does Narset things. I would like to draw Contest of Claws to kill this, and then do my Rhino thing. There's a Day's Undoing, very unfortunately for me. And then I whiff. No, I don't whiff. I will shoot the Sheriff. Hopefully this resolves. Oh, it does not. That is a hard cast Force of Will. Not what I want to see. So we're slashing? I slash, my opponent blocks, I play Slasher. This gets some stun counters. The only way out is through. Okay. Attack you. We trade, in air quotes. But this comes back. And we'll see if I can force through these last few points of damage. It's tough through 2 Urza Saga tokens. It's unclear how much mana my opponent truly has. The Ancient Tomb is more or less off. Sure. I have not seen a version of this deck that goes this deep into Winds of Change. Oh, fuck. This forced a shuffle. My plans! Alright. Well, buckle up. Costing an Ancient Tomb activation? No, it's costing a Lotus Petal instead. These creatures are big. These are 7/7s. Oh. Okay. Sure. Sanguinator Cavalry is a card. It's got Menace at least. Menace is real right now. Actually, I take that back. Menace is not real, right? My opponent attacks with both. I just have to chump. Think into Stupor. That literally kills me. That's unfortunate. We got in striking distance here, but because we don't have things like Thoughtseize in the deck, because we can't if we want to be doing stuff with Contest of Claws, this is pretty awkward. Bowmaster is absurd, Shoulder's Edict is fine, Collector Oof is fine, Disruptor Flute does stuff, but my opponent has so many effects with different names that I don't know that this is actually worth it. Plague Engineer on Construct token is okay, Force of Vigor is okay, Leyline does some stuff, I don't know how excited I am about it. Full disclosure though, I think we just lose this matchup. This is not the sort of thing that we want to play against. Most of the time, my opponent does not actually have creatures for Contest of Claws, which makes these 7 cards very awkward. Contest of Claws doesn't do anything until my opponent has an Urza's Saga token. I think I am just supposed to take out the cute thing, unfortunately. What if I Disruptor Flute Urza's Saga? Take out Gopher the Throats because they don't hit the Urza's Saga token creatures? That's 60. Would I prefer Plague Engineer over any of the 3-drops that I already have? This is great. I will keep this. In case my opponent echoes on turn 1, I think I always want Ancient Tomb in play after that. Alright. Not getting turn 1. Fantastic. So do I want to Malevolent Rumble here? Probably not. I think I play the very small Goyf. This currently has no power, but using Goyf to go and find something like a Bowmaster seems like a good use of my time. All right, there is Narset, and this is going to be an Echo. Yep, I end up with 1 card here, very unfortunately, and now I can't follow this up. Now my opponent can activate this. Just a Petal. Spirit Guide, Hull Breacher, sure. Winds of Change, yep. My opponent incidentally being able to clear out the graveyard is not great for me. Let's do this thing pre-combat. I am going to attack Narset here, I think. Alright, opponent just lets it eat that. So now we're in the Urza Saga mid-game. Opponent gets rid of a Narset. Second Hull Breacher, sure. Okay, so I need to reread this one. So I'm going to lose a card. Sorry, I'm going to lose a life and not draw a card and give my opponent treasures if I attack with this. Miserable. The Plague Engineer probably should have come in for this. All right, we're going face, I guess. Oh wait, the Narset is actually helping me out here, right? Because of the multiple replacement effect situations. So I'm physically stopped from drawing the card, meaning that my opponent does not get the treasures. Okay, my opponent is just taking it, which I'm very happy with. All right, I don't hit a creature, but this is now a 3/4, so I live through Hull Breacher now. That's the good news. Maybe the previous turn when I attacked Narset, I should have gone face, anticipating that I would need this. My creature's Deathtouch, I guess we are attacking. This matchup feels awful, though. Notably, I still lose the life. Alright, so my opponent is just letting me hit them. I miss on creatures again, which is unfortunate. We'll just play a little dude, and this game might come down to something as simple as, does my opponent have something like a Shadow Spear that can turn these into lifelinkers? The Lotus Petal. Malevolent Rumble, which I think I do post-combat? Yeah, I think I'll do that post-combat. Attack your face. Attack your face. You don't attack into the Construct tokens. I don't care if the Construct tokens trade for a Death Toucher. I don't want them just eating Spirit Guide for free. Okay, cool. So these are Death Touchers, so all this stuff that blocked is dying. Now I am going to tap this in a way where I can potentially play a black 3-drop afterwards. Hey, a black 3-drop. So our spawn lets us cast that. Then I have a 6/7 that is theoretically lethal. We do need to dodge a draw 7 here. We've dodged for a few turns already. You're just gonna cause me to junk it? Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Alright, not what I want to see. I'm going face here. Alright, we are now trading. So this game is fully who top decks better. I think I do on average, but if my opponent top decks something relevant, their top deck is much stronger than mine. Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully this resolves. Yeah? Alright, it does. But it is currently a 0-1. My opponent's deck is very good against mine. Incidentally clearing out the graveyard is so disgusting for my threat base. Big mana, just hardcast Echo. Yep. Well, the good news is there's now one card in graveyard. It'll stay in graveyard, right? It's not gonna stay in graveyard. Opponent going to 3. You just bounce that to my hand. Now my opponent can Echo again. And I don't draw cards this time because Narset. Each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. So I will Malevolent Rumble. For flexibility, I'm going to do this. I want the one with Menace here because Urza Saga is on board. Yeah. Alright. More Urza Saga. Not great for me. Okay. This is real good. Because I potentially make a blood token. Do I wait? Hull Breacher is a thing that can happen. That's fine. Send it face. Into the Floodmaw. Yeah, very happy that that's used on that and not Collect Roof. So now, let's go cast this first as bait for interaction. And then Collector Oof. I could potentially deal extra damage to myself to be able to play it again after bounce by holding green up again. Damn, should have done it. But the thing is that my life total is about to be precious because of these Urza Saga tokens. If my opponent has 2 7/7-ish creatures, tapping the Ancient Tomb in extra time might literally be the difference between life and death. Could have done it with the spawn. Hope there was another Into the Floodmaw. The illusion of choice. Sure. Okay, at this point, I think I'm done with this bullshit. Cool deck from my opponent, but this is very much a hard counter to what I am doing today. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and the reason I say that is it just has so much functionality. So for example, let's take a look at some random legacy deck here. You can click on your various 2-drop slots and you can see what % chance you have of casting various things on curve, and you can get a breakdown of your mana symbols and all of that stuff, and there's a lot more here than just this. Consider checking it out. Okay, so we are on the fair Rhinos plan this time, suspending on turn 1 rather than pseudo cascading into it. Basic Plains, Esper Sentinel. That's a little awkward. That helps a lot, actually. It helps so much. Let's go Urborg, play a Goyf, and then I can shoot the Sheriff some blocker out of the way next turn and start trying to scale up this creature. 17. Is this the human ward one? It is. So again, slightly annoying. So this is going to end up giving my opponent 1 card. If I shoot the Sheriff, I pay the ward, but I can't pay the 2 for the Esper Sentinel tax. This is overall fine, though. Send it. Alright, so opponent is not blocking. I deal more damage and look at more cards if I do the thing now. Or actually, this is each other human. This itself doesn't have ward. So I can go ahead and shoot... Or no, this is still gonna power 2. You can have your card. I think this is still worth it, because I get in for 3 instead. Mill 3. Don't hit a creature. Solid turn. Small mistake on my end. I should have kept Polluted Delta to Surveil. 3 mana for my opponent. For an Elite Spellbinder. Rip Exsanguinator Cavalry. Shoot the Sheriff is instant, so there is no sorcery in graveyard yet. Okay. Alright, Esper Sentinel gets in there. I have Rhinos coming in a second. Slasher. I potentially just play that this turn. Send in with my 3/4. Okay, opponent is just gonna use it as a speed bump. Yeah, let's just get the Slasher into play here and not fart around with Esper Sentinel tax. Hopefully I am just coming out of the gates fast enough here that my opponent doesn't build an engine. My individual creatures are probably more dangerous than their individual creatures. But if they can build up 2, 3, 4 creatures, things start to get scary for me. Alright, Rhinos happen. I will cast. That is going to trigger Esper Sentinel. I think I will just pay for it. Sure. So we're going to go to Punchies and see how my opponent feels about this. My guess is not good. A Swords is great for my opponent. So I'm going to get both of their creatures here due to Deathtouch. And then we're going to do the whole stun counter thing. Then bam. I'll Malevolent Rumble. I don't need to fetch here. I'll get another Goyf. That's fantastic. Pass turn. This is much more the speed of deck that we want to be playing against. That's a Thalia Heretic Cathar. You do not see many of those in Legacy anymore. Alice Jailer. That is very good for my opponent. They need like a Solitude to follow up though. Otherwise I become the pretty princess and life is bad. Yep. So I could 5 mana play this out. I think this is just better. Do I want to Surveil? I think no. I think I want to be able to play a 2-drop if I draw one. Okay. That's fine. I'm going to take this opportunity to fetch and make my plan. I don't want to get caught by the activated ability thing here. Stopping my fetch land. That's an awkward one. That's an okay card, but there's a very good chance that my opponent names Exsanguinator Cavalry with this. So let's just send that to graveyard. Alright, that's just enough for my opponent. Good stuff. Notably, this could be a deck that runs something like Rest in Peace. That could be devastating to my Goyfs. This on human is probably great. Bowmaster is probably good enough. Sheoldred's Edict is probably fine. I don't think I need this stuff. Contest of Claws probably slaps here, assuming it gets going. I think I just want to cut Malevolent Rumble against my opponent's Esper Sentinels. What's the last cut? It's not a Crashing Footfalls. The game is slow enough that that is actually reasonable. It's probably just a 3-drop. Like, it's probably 1 Breacher. Or 1 Exsanguinator Cavalry? Maybe 1 Exsanguinator Cavalry. This is a very mediocre hand. But it is improved by basically every non-land draw. I guess Spirit Guides and Contest of Claws are not fantastic. I can eat something like an Esper Sentinel on 1. I think I ship this. This is solid. Let's put the Underground Mortuary back in the deck. Oh, I probably just fetch that out with Polluted Delta every time. Let's save the 1 point of life. The punish for this is drawing exactly one of the 3 copies of Crashing Footfalls, which I did not do. Sheoldred's Edict is fine. I'm going to keep that. Is it a card that I super want? No, but it's not a land. And like sticking a slasher and then having kind of 3 removal spells to follow that up is pretty hot. Archon, you've got it. So this is non-basic lands, so I can play basic swamp this turn. Basics confirmed good. I just edict that away. Or do I go for the Throat It away because Ward is a thing in this deck? Choices. This always gets me the creature that I want right now, which is not true later. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. Goodbye, Archon. Wasteland is fine. I still play a 3-drop on my turn. I mean, unless there's another Archon, which is somewhat unlikely. My opponent does not have true white mana showing, notably. So, the Swords to Plowshares type cards are not currently live. And he sure do be slashing. For the longest time, I thought this was a head on a buzzsaw wheel in terms of the art, but that's actually a guy's arm. Elite Spellbinder is good here. That can take my Plague Engineer and make it cost 5 mana, causing me to use Go for the Throat in this next turn cycle. Oh, that's not where I thought that was going at all. Okay. So, Plague Engineer, put it on human, kill Elite Spellbinder, which causes me to get in. My opponent takes 2, halves their life total down to 5, and I have Go for the Throat to take out the next blocker. Wasteland again, not a problem. Okay. Goyf is great. Is there a Swords to Plowshares this turn? There is on the slasher. My opponent goes to 3. I'll drop a Goyf. Goyf is lethal next turn. Plague Engineer Is pseudo-lethal counting Ancient Tomb? We did the thing that match. Yeah, if my opponent is playing a slower deck and I actually have a chance to start churning out these black 3-drops, this is a powerful deck, but I don't like our odds versus combo. This is a weird one. So, I could play Exsanguinator Cavalry on 1, or I can just suspend Crashing Footfalls on 1. Believe in the deck. We're gonna believe. Anyway, I'm looking forward to turn 2 where I say I should not have believed. Opponent is excited for the spice. Hopefully this one delivers. My brain is a potato. I spent the afternoon at the DMV. There will be a rant about this in the next Eternal Glory podcast episode. Because it was an experience. Alright, let's Cavalry. So my opponent is probably working towards something like the One Ring or Karn and being able to untap that. If my opponent plays Karn, I can hopefully Sheoldred's Edict. There's a lot of mana. There's more mana. Okay. 2 life for Kozilek's Command. Notably not funneling everything in with Basalt Monolith here. So this is the portion where Contest of Claws looks pretty bad, right? Because I don't have a creature on board to do it. I think it is pretty unusual that I draw 4 removal spells like this. But the opening hand I kept was very much like, we want to do something, yikes, in the first couple of turns. And if we don't, we fall behind. There's a new Grim Monolith, up to 8. That is a paradoxical outcome. Okay, this is hilarious. So, in case you're not familiar with this one, it sees more vintage play than Legacy. My opponent bounced all of their permanents and drew a card for each permanent they bounced. So now they can replay all of that artifact mana, which is either mana positive or mana neutral. And the Coveted Jewel will allow them to draw 3 cards again. After playing out a bunch of mana, my opponent has played the One Ring, which is a very bad sign for me. At this point, I believe that I likely am dead. Like, I just don't think that I beat the One Ring plus keys here. But I would like to see what my opponent's actual win condition is. Like, are they going to kill me with Urza Sagas? Is it Karn? There's another paradoxical outcome. Okay. Wait. Does my opponent not have enough? Holy shit, they don't have enough mana to play out all of their stuff. Because they had no mana floating. They're discarding so many cards. Honestly, this is still pretty bad, but, like, maybe I'm not dead. Yeah, the Metalcraft count was just not there. Okay. Now I can at least nuke a Planeswalker. Right, there's a Glaring Fleshraker. So once something goes on the stack, I'm going to remove that. Now it's clear to me what my opponent's win condition is, obviously. Please sacrifice a non-token creature. Get out of here. Oh my god, I did it with it on this. That was fucking stupid. Yeah, that was supposed to be let Fleshraker resolve, the next thing trigger on the stack, remove it. Welcome to things you would never do in paper, but you do after a long day. Problematically, though, with the second Fleshraker here, and like a grip full of cards, life is still very, very bad for me. Even if I remove this one. I have a few more points of life. Let's see if I can recover this. Alright, Contest of Claws. Choose target creature you control to deal damage. Choose this creature to be assigned damage. So, bam. Cast Go for the Throat on the other Glaring Fleshraker. Okay. Alright. That was pretty good. My opponent has 2 cards left. Maybe. Maybe I have salvaged this one. Urza's Saga is good. Those are big things that block Rhinos. So Contest of Claws, not really doing anything, assuming that my opponent sacks an Eldrazi spawn token, right? So I think I just attack with the Rhinos here. This will put my opponent to 1. I can Sheoldred's Edict a token away. No. Okay. Got it. So my opponent's at 1. I'm going to Contest of Claws a token. Oh, they did not. They were F6'd. They were F6'd. Bang, bang. Nice. Okay, so now on my opponent's next turn, they can make an Urza Saga token, which I can Shoulder's Edict in combat. I have 2 different lethal attackers. Hopefully we dodge something like the One Ring here. We're getting some tapping and untapping. We're probably into One Ring or Coveted Jewel territory here. Token. Ancient Tombs aren't tappable. Kozilek's Command. Sure. Let's see if I can get away with the same trick again. Yeah, got away with the same trick again. Malevolent Rumble. Surveil Land? I think Surveil Land. Sheoldred's Edicting away a token doesn't do a lot here. So I am chilling for a little while, which is not great. I think I have the game this turn if I don't mess up that Glaring Fleshraker thing. Alright, so my opponent has larger creatures now. Candy Trail. The life is relevant. So now it becomes how aggressive does my opponent get with the Construct token? Aggressive. I am at 11, so like, I get it. I am going to fetch and inform my decision here. Slasher is great. We'll gain some life. There's some timelines where my opponent ends up sacking some Eldrazi spawns for mana for a big spell, and then I do something cool with Shoulder's Edict. Okay, so the One Ring is obviously very good, but so is this Shoulder's Edict removing a Construct token. I have exactly 5 mana to do all the things that I want. Please sacrifice a creature token. So bam. I do have to play the Tomb, or the Urborg, which is very good for my opponent in their current situation. So my opponent has protection from everything, so this attack is not lethal. Opponent goes to 3. This is going to be a close game. We've both made some mistakes. Alright. Opponent is all in now. They have untapped the One Ring to draw more cards. The One Ring kills them next turn if they do not play a new One Ring. Alright, they're going to go deeper. Mana bottleneck is now real. See if they realize their Ancient Tombs don't cost them life. They do. Good. Glaring Fleshraker is great here. Opponent has a bunch of cards in hand. I might die to my opponent just casting things. I likely die here, because that's 2 untaps on the One Ring. I don't know. I thought I was dead the paradoxical outcome turn, and I wasn't. So we'll see. Monolith. Paradoxical outcome. That'll do. I'm not going to make my opponent click through that. That, I think, very obviously leads to my death. Okay. Disruptor Flute, great. Bowmaster, great. Plague Engineer, very good, actually. Just put that on Eldrazi for the spawns. Force of Vigor playable. Shoulder's Edict playable. Not Leyline. Until my opponent notices Contest of Claws. Contest of Claws is, like, so beatable. Maybe it's good. These probably go. I'm just bringing in a bunch of other things to fill the curve. The smart thing to do is probably just, like... the issue is if I board out all of these, green cards, my Force of Vigors are not easily pitch castable. I could go down Cavalry. Cavalry scales pretty slowly for this matchup. It's not a 2-power Death Toucher for Contest of Claws. How good is Shoulder's Edict, actually? Answering Glaring Fleshraker might be important enough that I need to keep them all. Like, if I count Contest of Claws, I have so many removal spells. Contest of Claws is a sorcery. It is very good potential value and sometimes gets me into a 2-drop hate card. What if we go like bam, bam, bam? Keeps a reasonable green count for Force of Vigor. Yes, absolutely. I can Force of Vigor my way out of the first turn if I need to. And then I've got Oof. And then I have a Death Toucher plus Contest of Claws if I need it. 3 mana. Glaring Fleshraker. Okay, it's Glaring Fleshraker past the turn. I can go for the Throat that then. I'll Surveil Land. I don't want another one of those right now. I want 3rd land drop. That's good. I need to answer the immediate onboard problem here. I don't get to play my thing and set up Contest of Claws immediately. Between Force of Vigor and Oof, hopefully I have a lot of the rest of the stuff my opponent can do handled. Okay, that's fine. That eats it to oof, which I think I am fine with. That's very good too. We're gonna do this one. I think it's also reasonable to play this and just force a vigor both of these permanents. I think I want to see if my opponent has a soul land. Technically a soul land. This is 1 artifact next turn, which is half of Force of Vigor. That's fine. Combat. Send it. 18. Let's play this out to inform the rest of my decisions. Plague Engineer. It's okay. I'm just going to put a creature into my graveyard for Goyf, which is, I think, what I'm going to play. I don't know. Do I just want to play the guaranteed 2-power one here so that Contest of Claws does the cool thing? No, I'm pitching Contest of Claws to this. All right. Figured it out. So Urza Saga goes to 3. Opponent is floating mana instead. Getting a key, which does not activate. This doesn't make mana right now. This is my moment. I'm just going to eat that and, like, eat key here. This keeps my opponent from casting a 4-drop this turn, which feels like a really big deal. Okay, yeah. There were some different ways to navigate that game from my side. The Contest of Claws being green instead of Shouldered's Edict was real here for this specific game. But when I'm on the draw, it does become more important to just answer Glaring Fleshraker quickly. Yeah, I want these 2 Shouldered's Edicts for this game. And my gut is cut green cards, but maybe I get rid of 2 smaller Deathtouchers. Again, I do think the green count for Force of Vigor matters. Like, we are very much a black-based deck here. Oh, shit. Okay, let's fucking go. Yeah. All right, we're both keeping 7s. I don't answer a Glaring Fleshraker, but damn, I've got a lot of other really good stuff going on here. Excuse me? I can have 4 mana on turn 1. I don't think I want 4 mana on turn 1. I think I just want 2 mana for Collector Oof immediately. I think this is always just Bayou. I think this is always green, green, Collector Oof. Do I suspend this? I think so. That was hot. That was hot. I enjoyed that. There is an Urza Saga, which I will probably Disruptor Flute. Sure. Okay. Yes. So Crashing Footfalls goes down. Yeah. I mean, yep. Yep. Shut off Saga. Bash in with Oof. 4 of my opponent's permanents are off. And I shut off their secondary non-artifact win condition. Was it Suprazin? The Suprazin Scary also potentially just goes away. Punchies. Ooh. 16. I think I play this one. We should be insulated against the 1 ring for the time being. Goyf is just a wee lad right now, but now we've got a 2-3 immediately from Urza Saga hitting the yard. Candy Trail won't be being sacrificed. My opponent bottoms 2 cards. Rhinos are 1 turn away from happening. Here's 4 damage. Opponent's at 12. Plague Engineer. Yes. This is bullying right here. Like, I am systematically destroying everything my opponent is capable of doing. That is cool. My opponent needs a wild fucking haymaker of some kind. I don't know what, but they need like a sweeper. All right, we have gotten the GGs from the opponent here. That was a really cool match. Again, this deck can do cool stuff. This was an opposing combo deck, but it was of a very different nature. We had a little bit more time to react to this one, and I'm not gonna lie, that final hand we had was insane. Okay, I have an okay fair hand here, where we start by suspending Crashing Footfalls and then try to do some Malevolent Rumble, grow the Goyf stuff. Is potentially a Grixis deck of some kind, like a Grixis Delver deck. We most commonly see Bobble in like the DRC I Want Delirium style decks. Once we see a fetch land, it becomes less likely that this is something like 8-cast. Yep, okay. So opponent gets their 2 cards back. See if we get stifled. Feeling a stifle. Not a stifle. Unfortunately, I can't get a basic here if I want to suspend Crashing Footfalls, which I do want to do. This not getting wastelanded is a really big deal. I think it is correct to suspend this on turn 1, but I could see an argument for end of my opponent's turn, surveil land, try to find land drop 3, so that wasteland has less of an impact. No creature played out. We love to see that. I would really like this spell to resolve. It's a great days target. My opponent can just pay 2 for it. Oh, that's not the land that I wanted. Huh. I technically can cast a 3-drop next turn, but I really want to do it around days. Red, red, seek the beast. What's in exile? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Goodbye, land. Delver, sure. Rhinos tick down. I hit a land. That's fantastic. This can be a basic as well. I want to resolve these later. All of these live through Lightning Bolt anyway. I'm going to feed a Preacher to a potential daze. Also, Questing Druid tends to be blue-red specifically, so let's assume this is an Izzet deck until I see an Underground Sea. This spell has now been on the stack long enough that my opponent certainly has a counterspell, and they are deciding whether or not this is enough of a problem to counter. The answer was no, and we'll see how this plays out. Delver flips to Lightning Bolt. Big booty, though. Big booty. Ooh. Oh, no. Why am I getting excited? I already knew about this. Is it Light Splash? I will take 3. Rhinos tick down. Mortuary. Okay. So my opponent has more life. So I make a 1/1 life linker. This is a Deathtouch. I don't care if I get blocked. Do I try to live the dream versus a suspected counterspell? I would really like to live the dream. The Delver's actually scarier than the Questing Druid, oddly. Contest of Claws. Oh my god, it's working. Okay. But my opponent just doesn't have a counterspell? Oh no, they just were beyond greedy. Okay. So if I attack, my opponent could Lightning Bolt the token that I produce and then get in with this. I maybe just hold this back. I am winning this long game. Ancient Tomb. That's a weird one. If I get wastelanded again, I want that. I've already seen 2 of the wastelands, though. I don't want this unless I get wastelanded. And we're pretty darn sure my opponent doesn't have days. Let's just hold back. Alright, there's a DRC. And we're chilling. So now I Rhino. 4 friends. Alright, fantastic. Now, am I comfortable attacking with this? I think so. With 2 4/4s here. Send it. And make a friend. He looks nice. Ignore the chains. 15. Now we start deploying Goyfs. Nice. Hello and good luck. Ooh, Unholy Heat. That's quite good. So that was potentially my opponent's reason for letting this resolve in the early game. Tarn. So this is a 5/5, assuming Lightning Bolt happens. I think I just put everything in front of this Questing Druid, and if my opponent bolts this is a 5/5, it trades with a Rhino. My opponent has Bolt and Brazen Borrower. That is less good for me, but my opponent uses those resources on things that aren't the Goyf. Bolt on my face. Bolt on my face. So my opponent can kill a vampire token and a Rhino. Another bolt? Bolt on my face again. Sure. Okay. I am at 7, which means I'm not dead to the top card of my opponent's deck being a bolt. Play a Goyf. Go to Punchies. I will hit my opponent for 6. I make another lifelink friend. And then I'll pass the turn. Fetching. What are you looking for if you're the opponent here? Like a Murktide Regent? That has to attack. 0 agency there. I'm at 4. Yeah, I think that randomly hit Murktide Regent. Which I think is not a problem, right? Like, they have to block the Goyf before they die. Then I hit them for 7. I gain 6 life. Yeah, this is still fine. Maybe they can adjust the size of Goyf to be interesting. Nope, still a 5/6. Also, if this is always blocking, do you even want to exile instants and sorceries? That way, if you draw another Murktide Regent next turn, it's more interesting. So this always gets blocked. My opponent goes to 1. Did my opponent punt? Is there a way to do this where they don't have to attack with DRC because they shrink their Murktide enough? At 10. I'm not gonna math it out. Like, I'm not gonna count all the cards in their graveyard there, but it's possible there was a line there. What a beating. So I think my opponent lost that game when they got greedy with Contest of Claws. I had already shown, as of turn 1, this Crashing Footfalls. And that's a really weird card to play unless you're doing something unfair with it. So I don't think my opponent saw this coming, and thus they did not use their Force of Will when they probably needed to. Generic advice that I give people is that if you don't understand why a card is in someone's deck, answer that card, counter that card. There's probably a reason. Bowmaster is great. Sheoldred's Edict is great. Leyline of the Void and Plague Engineer fall into a clearly lower tier of cards where I could play them. I don't know that I want to. I think my opponent's graveyard is relevant. My Malevolent Rumbles are kind of slow here. If I lose games in this matchup, it is either because a large Murktide Regent punched me twice, or my opponent just out-tempos me in the first couple of turns. Malevolent Rumble gives them something to use Dazes and other counterspells on, but I am about to fill with a handful of 2-drops here. I'm gonna pull a Rhino from the deck. I'm going to pull 2 Malevolent Rumbles from the deck to play these. Plague Engineer is occasionally a removal spell for my opponent's stuff, but it dies to Lightning Bolt. Always Unstoppable Slasher. Great if it works. I'm gonna do this swap. So ideally, I would like a hand with 3 lands, 2 removal spells. That's not this. I'll keep it. I keep this and I put the Crashing Footfalls back in the deck because I have double Contest of Claws in this hand. I am terrified of Wasteland. I am terrified of turn 1 DRC. Bobble. My opponent can bobble themselves to see what to do with their fetch land. Okay. Redraw. Spirit Guide's not bad. I'm going to top that land. If I get Wastelanded, I still want to be able to work towards these because Contest of Claws is my removal spell. Like, I need my creature to be online. All right, there's the Wasteland. So we will do this and pass. Okay, I'm going to lose Ancient Tomb after I play my first card here, which complicates things quite a bit. Ooh, don't mind that. Better card to play dies to Bolt. Worse card to play doesn't die to Bolt. We're going to choose doesn't die to Bolt. All right, resolves. Didn't have to use Spirit Guide on days, which is really nice. That means I still have green mana for Contest of Claws. That's not a Surveil land. You're just going to tempo me here? Petty Theft. Yep. That's great. Like, my opponent can now Wasteland this Ancient Tomb. That's very, very good for them. Yeah. No follow-up land. This is green mana. So I am okay just playing this again. If I walk into Daze this turn, so be it. I have another thing to play next turn. Yep. But I want to capitalize on trying to play spells when my opponent has 1 land and I know it. I also do just have a lot of endgame bangers. Alright, there's the Volk again. Redraw. I've already used my Surveil land, so this is just a basic 100% of the time. And sometimes this just eats it to a Lightning Bolt immediately and I don't get to set up Contest of Claws. No, it is Force of Will. So we can deduce that my opponent does not have Lightning Bolt in their hand. Otherwise, you just, like, very cleanly answer that card. Are we chilling? No, we've got a DRC. Sure. I want this one to get Wastelanded. This one costs me life. Okay, opponent bites. That's great for us. This is only 1 damage, though. 3 card types in graveyard. I'm more worried about my opponent hitting their next blue land drop and then doing things. This is Lightning Boltable, but is a worse Lightning Bolt target, as it does just come back. Yeah, and if it comes back, I can still... While it has stun counters, this card still works. I think I'm in okay shape. I mean, obviously, Force of Will blue card would not be great for me. Seek the Beast. Delver and Bauble. Sure. All right, the Slasher is in play, and I have 2 copies of Rhinos in my deck. So in theory, we could go wild next turn. Some of that depends on whether or not I get wastelanded. All right, there's Delver, DRC not attacking, and I'm not getting wastelanded. This is very good for me. I would love to play this card, I just think it is wrong to. Let's kill DRC first. Its selection, I think, matters too much. Past Rhinos. At this point, we've ruled out Force of Will. Because I have a great thing I want to do next turn that is dazeable, I am okay just doing this again. Nice. This deck is pretty sweet versus fair decks. Like, once we reach like this like turn 4, turn 5 range, we're doing awesome things. Okay. Opening hand is very good if I don't get wastelanded. So let's hope we don't get wastelanded. No wasteland, no fast broken combo. We've dodged oops all spells the last couple videos, so that's been nice. Not oops all spells. But this is going to be a wasteland deck. Do I just ignore Crashing Footfalls? I think I ignore Crashing Footfalls. I think this is a trap here. I think this is a trap that gets me wastelanded too much of the time. Like, I have multiple removal spells here. I have a lifelinker that is very strong. I think I need to make it out of the first few turns without everything going to shit. There is some question of, do I just get basic swamp, or do I surveil land trying to find more lands? That I am less clear on. If I do basic swamp, I am shutting off a way to get Rhinos and a way to suspend this. I think we'll go surveil land. Malevolent Rumble, I do not like. It costs me life with Ancient Tomb currently. That Force of Will bait? Might be Force of Will bait. Every card I play just costs me 2 life though right now, which is not great. Alright, Force of Will baited successfully. My opponent also had Spell Pierce though, so if I had gone for one of these spells, Spell Pierce would have gotten it. Oh, Jeskai. Why? Fuck. Please hit my Ancient Tomb. Please hit my Ancient Tomb. Thank you! Alright, why white? Do you just want Swords to Plowshares? Or is there like Stifle plus like Doorkeeper Thrall, Phyrexian Dreadnought nonsense in there? Sometimes I die next turn. Let's assume everything goes perfectly. The way to gain the most life is this one. This takes 2, gains 4 to 5, and potentially also sets up Contest of Claws. Teferi could just bounce this and it's a disaster. Prismatic Ending, also very bad. There's more Spell Pierce, sure. I am low here. It's very hard for me to live. I need to shoot the Delver and have this not become a 3/3. Then I need to draw running lands. Oh fuck, the Delver dying just does it. That was the illusion of choice. My bad. Alright, Bowmaster, Edict, maybe Plague Engineer. I think I did 1 Footfalls and Malevolent Rumbles out previously and liked that. This is the same theory I was saying before, where if we lose a matchup that looks like this one, it's because we get tempoed out in the first couple of turns, or we die in 2 hits to something big like a Murktide Regent, or maybe a Phyrexian Dreadnought in this case. It might be a little different here. My opponent's exile-based removal means the Goyfs are slightly less reliable. This is fine. This has 2 Duders. The Unstoppable Slasher is a little worse against white removal, though. We're just passing the turn here. Trying to find something cool with a Surveil land. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Basic Swamp. That is an okay card. I think I'm gonna try to run hotter than that. Contest of Claws is not bad. I think I'm going to wait a turn to play around days here. I am under no pressure as of right now. No end of turn Surveil from my opponent, which probably means that they have like a Brainstorm that they want to use on their turn. That was a very fast Brainstorm. My opponent had some cards that they did not like. Delver's fine. I am fine shooting the Sheriff on this card immediately because I have Spirit Guide to trade with Daze. Hey, just like we drew it up. Nice. So now one of these cards is less likely to get dazed. Do I want to fully play around Daze at the cost of 2 life? That seems fine. This is a good spot for... Slasher's very likely to get a hit in. Or eat a lightning bolt. It doesn't eat prismatic ending immediately. Let's try to get a slasher hit in. We're in play. There's the white mana. Ah, it's swords instead of prismatic ending. Ooh. Okay. Now we do the other one. This one plays around lightning bolt. If my opponent plays a creature, Contest of Claws is incredible. And will naturally be playing around Spell Pierce type effects. Alright, my opponent had both swords and prismatic ending. Doomed from the start. Cavalry is fine. It is less good with Contest of Claws. Doesn't have Deathtouch. Do I have 2 Underground Mortuaries? I'm pretty sure I do. I have 2 Underground Mortuaries. I wonder how many removal spells my opponent is playing. Probably a lot. And a Mystic Sanctuary. Alright, opponent's not messing around. And this is the sort of spot where Contest of Claws is obviously not good. It is not a removal spell unless I also have a creature. But we've seen the upside of Contest of Claws enough in this league to know that, like, the card is ridiculous, especially when my opponents don't know what's coming. Plague Engineer is fine. It's just a dude. It's just a dude that enables Contest of Claws. Wizard. Wizard. Land drop. Bobble. Opponent can do the whole fetch land check thing. Oh, they're looking at me instead. Sure. Fetching. And passing. It's another swamp. I have surveilled 2 basic swamps into graveyard already. Send it. I'm going to hold this basic swamp. Exsanguinator Cavalry can loot things away if I draw one. What is this? Fuck. Don't love that. My opponent gets to become the pretty princess here. Hopefully I just resolve Contest of Claws and my opponent does not have exactly Swords to Plowshares to back this up. I'm now going to play this. No, it doesn't matter, right? 2 mana, Spell Pierce, can still go for the throat afterwards too. Alright. This is a very big moment. This is probably match defining. Does this resolve? God damn it. Yeah. Okay. I mean, what you gonna do, right? Now my opponent just buries me. I don't even think I go for the throat these. There are worse things that can come later. That was devastating. Alright, I'll take that. Delver worse enough. I think Delver is worse enough. The evasion matters. Let's take that out before my opponent draws another card. Cool. Alright, this is what we're here for. This is why I removed the flyer instead of the stuff on the ground. Damn it, no! No! Now my opponent can just 1-for-1 me forever. That's bad. That's irrelevant. I just have to get real lucky and just keep drawing Goyf after Goyf after Goyf here, basically. I guess I play this out. I don't take damage from Spell Pierce type disruption that my opponent just throws away because they're the Monarch. I'll take 4 more. Man, my opponent really needed exactly swords in that spot. That's a shame. My opponent's got something awful here. That's a Murktide Regent. That beats us. That's just a 1-hit KO. That is not gonna do it. That's a shame. The white version of that matchup definitely feels worse than the blue-red one. Alright. Greg, this idea was awesome. Is Contest of Claws a card that you should play in Legacy? The answer is objectively no, right? Like we saw in that last round there, when your opponent has a removal spell for your Contest of Claws, the blowout is massive. However, the upside of this card is I killed a creature and made 8 power for 2 mana, which is also nutty. I'm going to give this one the ThrabenU seal of approval. I am not going to lie to you. This is a very fun deck. I think this is an awesome thing to show up to an FNM with. I think if you want to, have a beer, play a league, and just have a nice evening, I think this is a very good way to accomplish that. You are, however, going to have incredibly polarized matchups. We basically don't do anything against combo in game 1. Meaning that you really have to rely on your sideboard cards to carry you for 2 games against most combo decks. generally speaking, I feel pretty comfortable about the main deck. The thing that I'm least certain about is Malevolent Rumble. It bridging to the 3-drops was nice. This was the card that I most frequently went to boarding out, as long as Contest of Claws and Crashing Footfalls were a reasonable thing to be doing. This does let you dig for Collector Roof and Bowmaster and Plague Engineer when those cards matter. This does let you dig for a Goyf. It is possible this deck specifically wants Once Upon a Time because Ancient Tomb is so good, because Spirit Guide is so good. I don't know that you want to play like 2 red Spirit Guides or something to round out the deck so that you can more fairly play a 3-drop on turn 2. I don't know that you actually want to do that. Maybe you could just play 4x Bowmaster in the main over Malevolent Rumble. Maybe you don't need that extra mana. You just need something to eat days and early interaction so your army black 3-drops can do the thing. But at that point, you're getting very close to a mono black deck. And like at that point, is Contest of Claws better than just being able to play Lotus Petal or Chrome Mox or whatever? Regardless, this was great. It is very late. I'm ready to go to bed. But if you need some cards, you know where to go before you go to bed. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. This was great, but I'm tired. See ya.